Dinah, where have you run off to, you wicked little thing? There you are. Now, what have you got to say for yourself? Well, it is a very inconvenient habit of kittens that, no matter what you say to them, they always purr. If they'd only purr for yes and mew for no, one could keep up a conversation. But how can one if a person always says the same thing? Well, now, Dinah, let's pretend we're kings and queens. You can be the Red Queen. I believe if you sat up and crossed your arms, you look exactly like her. Dinah, but there is nothing to do, really. We could read a book that Sister gave us, but what is the use of a book without pictures or conversations? And such a hot day, too. I always feel quite sleepy and stupid on days such as these.
Oh dear, I shall be too late!
Is that a white rabbit? Did he just take a pocket watch out of his waistcoat? Mr. Rabbit?
Oh, my barren whiskers! How late it's getting!
Wait, Mr. Rabbit? Oh, my. Hello? Mr. Rabbit, are you down there? Oh, my. It's awfully dark down there. And listen to that echo. Hello? Oh, no! Oh, my, it's awfully dark down here. I'm falling quite quickly as well. My. Oh, curiouser. Either this rabbit hole is very deep, or I am falling very slowly. After such a fall as this, I should think nothing of tumbling downstairs. Down. Will this fall never come to an end? I wonder how many miles have fallen by this time. I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. Dinah will be missing me very much at this point, I should think. I hope they don't forget her saucer of milk at tea time. Dinah, my dear, I wish you were down here with me.
Yes, the Duchess! Oh, won't she be savage if I've kept her waiting?
Mr. Rabbit,
oh, dear.
Wait.
Oh, dear.
Oh, my. Dear. How odd everything is today. And yesterday, things went on just as usual. I wonder if I've been changed in the night. Oh, let me think. Was I the same when I got up this morning? Very odd. But if I do remember feeling different, well, the next question is, who in the world am I? That's the great puzzle. Here's a path that leads straight to it. Well, I'm not quite sure where it leads, but how curiously it twists. It's more like a corkscrew than a path. And, Tiger Lily, I wish you could talk.
We can talk, when there's anybody worth talking to.
Can all the flowers talk?
As well as you can, and a great deal louder.
It isn't Manna's fast to begin, you know. And I really was wondering when you'd speak, said I to myself. Her face has got some sense in it, though it ain't a clever one. Still, you're the right color, and that goes a long way. I don't care about the color. If only her petals curled up a little bit more, she'd be all right.
Well, aren't you sometimes frightened of being planted out here, all by yourself?
There's 2 trees behind us. What else would they be good for?
Well, but what could they do if any danger came?
It says bow wow. That's why its branches are called boughs. Didn't you know that? Silence, every one of you. They know I can't get at them, or they wouldn't dare to do it.
Oh, never mind. If you don't hold your tongues, I'll pick you.
That's right. The daisies are worst of all. When one speaks, they all begin together, and it's enough to make one wither.
Well, but how is it you can all talk so nicely? I've been in many gardens before, but none of the flowers could talk.
Put your hand down and then feel the ground. Then you know why.
Well, it is very hard, but I don't see what's got to do with it.
In most gardens, to make the beds too soft, so that the flowers are always asleep.
I never thought of that before.
It's my opinion that you never think at all.
I never saw anybody that looks
Hold your tongue, as if you ever saw anybody. You keep your head in the leaves and snore away there, till you know no more what's going on in the world than if you were a bud.
Well, are there any other people in the garden besides me?
There's one other flower in the garden that can move about like you, but she's more bushy than you are.
Well, there's another little girl in the garden somewhere.
Well, she has the same awkward shape as you, but she's redder. I dare say you'll see her soon. She's one of the thorny kind.
Well, where does she wear thorns?
Why, all around her head, of course.
She's coming, she's coming. Where do you come from? And where are you going? Look up, speak nicely, and don't twiddle your fingers all the time. Curtsy while you think of what to say, it saves time. Open your mouth a little wider and always say, Your Majesty.
I only wanted to see what the garden was like, Your Majesty.
Right, though when you say garden, I've seen gardens, compared with which this would be a wilderness.
Well, I only wanted to find my way to the top of the hill.
Right, so when you say hill, I could show you hills.
I declare, it's marked out just like a giant chessboard, and there ought to be some men moving about somewhere, and so there are. It's just like a great huge game of chess being played all over the world, if this is the world at all, you know, and I wouldn't mind being a pawn, but I'd like to be queen best.
That's easily managed. You can be the white queen's pawn if you like, and you're in the second square to begin with. When you get to the 8th square, you'll be a queen. A pawn goes 2 squares in its first move, you know. So you'll go very quickly through the 3rd square, and you'll find yourself in the 4th square in no time. Well, that square belongs to Tweedledum and Tweedledee. The 5th is mostly water. The 6th belongs to Humpty Dumpty. But you make no remark?
I didn't know I had to make one.
You should have said, it's extremely kind of you to tell me all this. However, we'll pretend you said it. The 7th is all forest, however, one of the knights will show you the way. And in the 8th, we shall be queens together, and it's all feasting and fun. But now, run!
I wonder if all the things move along with us.
Don't try and talk! Faster, faster!
Are we nearly there yet?
We passed it 10 minutes ago! Faster! The queen waits for no one! Oh!
She can run very fast. She's gone.
Oh, my bone whiskers! The Duchess! The Duchess! Oh, she'll get me executed as sure as fat thunder!
Mr. Rabbit, if you please, Mr. Rabbit. Well,
why, Marianne, what are you doing out here? Run home this minute and fetch me a pair of gloves! And a fan! Now, go!
He took me for his housemaid. How very odd it seems to be taking messages from a rabbit.
Marianne, fetch me my gloves this moment!
Well, the first thing I've got to do is find my way to Queen's Garden. I think that would be best.
'Twas brillig, and the slithy doves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. On them see were the borogoves and the momraths out grape. Beware the Jabberwock mussel, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jewel bird, a sure never his bandersnatch.
Who are you?
Well, I hardly noticed her just at present. I know who I was when I got up this morning, but now...
What do you mean by that? Explain yourself!
Well, I'm afraid I can't explain myself. I'm afraid so... Myself, you see?
I don't see.
Well, perhaps your feelings are different. Well, I know that when you have turned into a chrysalis, and you will one day, you know, and then later into a butterfly, you'll find it rather confusing, won't you?
Not a bit.
Well, perhaps your feelings may be different, as I said before, but I'm sure it'll be very odd to me.
You! Who are you?
Well, I thought you ought to tell me who you are first.
What?
But
Come back. I have something very important to say.
yes,
Keep your temper. No. So you think you've changed, do you?
well, I'm afraid I am, sir. I can't remember...
Can't remember what things.
Well, I've tried to say, how doth a little bit... It all came wrong.
Repeat. You are old, Father William.
You are old, Father William, and your hair has become very white, and yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right? In my youth, Father William replied, I feared I might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly certain I have none, why do it again and again? You are old, Father William, the youth said, as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat.
That is not said right.
Not quite right, I'm afraid. Some of the words have got altered.
It is wrong from beginning to end.
I beg your pardon? How incredibly rude! I've never been so contradicted in all of my life.
Keep your temper.
Bill, I shall keep my temper. Far away from you.
Sword in hand, borne down immense and fury sought. So rested he by the 10-ton tree, stood a while in thought, and as in the fish that he stood, the Jabberwocky with eyes aflame came whiffling.
For the Duchess, an invitation from the Queen to play croquet.
From the Queen, an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet.
There's no sort of use in knocking, you know, and that's for 2 reasons. First off, because I'm on the same side of the door as you, and secondly, because they're making such a noise inside, no one could possibly hear you.
But how am I to get in?
There might be some sense in your knocking if we had the door between us. For instance, if you were inside, you might knock, and I could let you out, you know.
Well, but how am I to get in?
I shall sit here till morrow.
Or next day, maybe.
But how am I to get in?
Are you to get in at all? That's the first question, you know.
These creatures, how dreadfully they argue. It's enough to drive one crazy.
I shall sit here on and off for days and days.
Days and days.
But what am I to do?
Anything you like.
These creatures, perfectly idiotic. Well, my, certainly too much pepper in that soup. Well, would you tell me, please, why does your cat grin like that?
The Cheshire cat, that's why. Oh, you pig.
Well, I don't know any Cheshire cats that grin, and I don't know any normal cats that do.
Well, they all can, and most of them do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, you don't know much, and that's a fact.
Please mind what you're doing. Watch his precious nose.
Oh, if everybody minded their own business, the world would go around a great deal faster than it does.
Which would not be an advantage. Think of the work it would make with the night and day. See, the Earth takes 24 hours to go round in its axis.
Oh, speaking of axes, chop off its head.
Well, it may be 12, I don't know which.
Oh, but don't bother me. I could never abide figures. Oh, this is such a stupid baby. Speak roughly to your little boy and beat him when he sneezes. He only does it to annoy because he knows it teases. Wow. I speak severely to my little boy and beat him when he sneezes so he can thoroughly enjoy the pepper when he pleases. Wow. Here, let me hold it for a bit. I must get ready to play croquet with the Queen.
Well, if I don't take this child with me, it should be killed in a day or two. It'd be murder to leave it behind. Well, Grunt, my dear, it's not at all a proper way of expressing yourself. Or perhaps it was only sobbing. Well, if you're going to turn to a pig, my dear, I'll have nothing more to do with you. Mind now. What trouble? Dear! Well, if it had been a child, it would have been a dreadfully ugly one at that. But as it's a pig, I think it's a rather handsome one. I ought to be moving along, though. Cheshire Cat, would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go?
That depends a good deal on where you want to get to.
Well, I don't much care where.
Then it doesn't matter which way you go.
Well, so long as I get somewhere.
Oh, you're sure to do that, if only you walk long enough.
What sort of people live about here?
In that direction lives a hatter, and in that direction lives a March hare. Visit either you like. They're both mad.
Well, I don't want to go among mad people.
Oh, you can't help that. We're all mad here. I'm mad. You're mad.
How do you know I'm mad?
You must be, or you wouldn't have come here.
And how do you know you're mad?
To begin with, a dog's not mad. You grant that?
Well, I suppose so.
Well, then you see, a dog growls when it's angry and wags its tail when it's pleased. Now, I growl when I'm pleased and wag my tail when I'm angry.
I call it purring, not growling.
Call it what you like. By the by, what became of the baby? I'd nearly forgotten to ask.
Well, it turned into a pig.
I thought it would.
Well, I've seen hatters before, and the March Hare will be much the most interesting. Only as it's May, I hope it won't be so raving mad as it was in March.
Did you say pig or fig?
I said pig, and I wish you wouldn't keep vanishing and appearing so suddenly. It makes one quite giddy.
All right.
Well, I've often seen a cat without a grin, but a grin without a cat. It's the most curious thing I ever saw in my life. Well, suppose the March Hare should be raving mad after all. Oh, my. Here's the trouble with this. I don't know. What a lovely little tea party.
No, absolutely, positively, no.
There's plenty of room.
Have some wine.
Well, I don't see any wine.
There isn't any.
But then it wasn't very civil of you to offer it.
It wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited.
Well, I didn't know it was your table. It's late for a great many more than 3.
Oh, but my dear, your hair wants... cutting.
You should know not to make personal remarks. It's very rude.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
Come, we shall have some fun now. I believe I can guess the answer to that.
Do you mean that you think you can find out the answer to it?
Exactly so.
Then you should say what you mean.
I do at least. At least I mean what I say. It's the same thing, you know?
Ugh, not the same thing a bit. You might just as well say that I see what I eat is the same thing as I eat what I see. You might just as well say that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like.
You might as well just say that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe.
Well, it is the same thing with you, Dormouse. What day of the month is it?
The 4th, I believe.
2 days wrong. I told you butter wouldn't suit the works. 'Twas the best butter. Yes, but some crumbs must have got in as well. You shouldn't have put it in with the bread knife. It was the best butter, you know.
Well, what a funny watch. It tells the day of the month, but not what o'clock it is.
Why should it? Does your watch tell you what year it is?
Well, no, of course not. But that's because it stays the same year for such a long time together.
Which is just the case with mine.
Well, I don't understand you.
The Dormouse is asleep again.
Of course, just what I was going to remark myself.
Have you guessed the answer to the riddle yet?
Well, no, I haven't. I give it up. What's the answer?
I haven't the slightest idea. Nor I.
But you shouldn't waste the time in asking riddles that have no answers.
Oh, if you knew time as well as I do, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, of course you don't. I dare say you never even spoke to time.
Well, perhaps not, but I know I have to beat time when I learn music.
Ah. See, that accounts for it. He won't stand being beaten. Now, if you only kept on good terms with him, he'd do almost anything you liked with the clock. For instance, suppose it were 9 in the morning, just time to begin lessons. You'd only have to whisper a hint of time, and round goes the clock in a twinkling. 1:30, time for dinner. Dinner! I only wish it was. Me too.
Well, that would be grand, certainly, but then I shouldn't be hungry for it, you know?
Well, not at first, perhaps, but you could keep it to 1:30 as long as you liked.
Is that the way you managed?
Oh, no, not I. We quarreled last March, just before he went mad, you know. What? Oh, my.
Well, continue.
Well, it was at the great concert given by the Queen of Hearts, and I had to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Bat, How I Wonder What You're At. You know the song, perhaps?
I've heard something like it.
Oh, good. It goes on, in this way. Up above the world you fly, like a tea tray in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle,
Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle, twinkle, twinkle.
Well, at any rate, the queen jumped up and bawled out, "He's murdering the time! Off with his head!"
How dreadfully savage.
And ever since then, he won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock now.
Is that the reason so many tea things are laid out here?
Yes, it's always tea time, and we've no time to wash the things between the whiles.
Then you keep moving round, I suppose.
Yes, exactly so. At least, as the things get used up, of course.
But what happens when you come to the beginning again?
Well,
Suppose we change the subject. I'm getting tired of this. I hope the young lady tells us a story.
I'm afraid I don't know one.
well then the Dormouse shall. Wake up, Dormouse!
I wasn't asleep. I heard every word you fellows were saying.
Tell us a story,
Oh, yes, please do.
and be quick about it, or you'll be asleep again before it's done.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little sisters, and their names were Elsie,
Lacey
Lace.
and Tilly.
and they lived at the bottom of a well.
What did they live on?
They lived on treacle.
They couldn't have done that, They'd have been ill.
So they were very ill.
Well, but why did they live at the bottom of a well?
Take some more tea.
I've had nothing yet. I can't possibly take more.
Oh, you mean you can take less? It's very easy to take more than nothing.
Well, but that doesn't make any sense.
If you can't be civil, you better finish the story for yourself.
No, I promise I would interrupt again. I dare say there may be one.
One indeed. And so, these 3 little sisters, they were learning to draw,
What did they draw?
They drew all manner of things, everything that begins with an M.
Well, why with an M?
Why not? I want a clean cup. Let's all move on to a different place, shall we?
Sure, yes.
I'm in
Suppose
the
I'll go over
you
here.
are.
Well, very rude of you. I'll just go back over here. Was kicked over the chair. Rude. Well, but I don't understand. Where do they draw the treacle from?
Well, you can draw water out of a water well, so I suppose you could draw treacle out of a treacle well, eh, stupid?
But they were in the well.
Of course they were. Well, and so, these 3 little sisters, they were learning to draw everything that begins with an M, such as memory, and the moon, and mousetraps, and muchness. You say things are much of a muchness.
Yes.
But did you ever see such a thing as a drawing of a muchness?
Well, really, now you ask me, I don't think...
Then you shouldn't talk. Get out. Go. Shoot. I don't want you here anymore.
You're very rude.
Out of this tea party.
That was the stupidest tea party I was ever at in all my life. I'll never go there again.
'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy with the boro groves and the mome raths outgrabe.
Oh, Cheshire Cat, it seems a very pretty poem, but it's rather hard to understand. Would you tell me, please, what's the meaning of the Jabberwocky?
I can explain all the poems that were ever invented, and a good many that haven't been invented just yet. Recite it for me.
'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the boro groves and the mome raths outgrabe.
Brillig means 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the time when you're going broiling things for dinner. And slithy means lithe and slimy. Toves are something like badgers, there's something like lizards, and something like corkscrews.
Well, they seem like rather odd creatures.
That they are. To gyre is to go round and round like a gyroscope, while to gimble is to make holes like a gimlet.
And the wabe must be the grass plot round a sundial, I suppose?
Of course it is. It's called a wave, because it goes a long way before it, and a long way behind it.
And a long way beyond it on either side.
Exactly so. Mimsy means miserable and flimsy, and a borogrove is a shabby-looking bird with its feathers sticking out all around, something like a live mop.
And then mome wraiths.
Well, the wraith is a sort of green pig, but mome I'm not certain about. I think it's short for from home, meaning they'd lost their way, you know.
And what does outgrave mean then?
Outgraving is something between bellowing and whistling, with a sort of sneeze in the middle.
Oh, how interesting.
Do you play croquet with the queen today?
I should like it very much, but I haven't been invited yet.
Oh, you'll see me there.
What on earth? Strange. These woods. Well. Oh! How curious. Well, but everything's curious today.
If you think we're waxworks, you ought to pay, you know. Waxworks weren't made to be looked at for nothing, know-how.
Contrary-wise, if you think we're alive, you ought to speak.
Well, I'm sure I'm very sorry, but the words of an old song, they keep ringing through my head like the ticking of a clock. Tweedledum and Tweedledee agreed to have a battle, for Tweedledum said Tweedledee had spoiled his knives to rattle. Just then flew down a monstrous crow, black as tar barrel, and frightened both the heroes so, they quite forgot their quarrel.
I know what you're thinking, but it isn't so, know-how.
Contrary-wise, if it was so, it might be. If it were so, it would be. But as it isn't, it ain't. That's logic.
Well, do you think you could please tell me which road I ought to go to get out of these woods?
Know-how. The first thing in a visit is to say, how do you do? And shake hands.
How do you do?
How do you do? Thank you
How
very
do you do?
well.
How do you do?
Thank you.
How do you do?
Thank you very well. Thank you very well.
That's enough for one dancing.
I hope you're not much tired.
Know-how, and thank you very much for asking.
So much obliged. You like poetry?
Well, yes, some poetry, but if it's very long, could you...
What's how he repeats the word?
The walrus and the carpenter is the longest.
The sun was
If
shining.
it's so very long, could you please first tell me which road I ought to go?
Sure.
Thank you very much. I'm going this way.
Sit.
Oh, my, so rude.
The sun was shining on the sea, shining with all its might. He did his very best to make the billow smooth and bright, and this was odd because it was the middle of the night.
The moon was shining sulkily because she thought the sun had got no business to be there after the day was done. It's very rude of him, she said, to come and spoil the fun.
The seas were wet as wet could be, the sands were dry as dry. You could not see a cloud because no cloud was in the sky. No birds were flying overhead, there were no birds to fly.
The walrus and the carpenter were walking close at hand. They wept at everything to see such quantities of sand. If only this were cleared away, they said, that would be grand.
If 7 maids with 7 mops swept for half a year, do you suppose, the walrus said, that they could get it clear? I doubt it, said the carpenter, and shed a bitter tear.
Oh, oysters, come and walk with us, the walrus did beseech. A pleasant talk, a pleasant walk along the briny beach, but we cannot do with more than 4 to give a hand to each.
The eldest oyster looked at him, but never a word he said. The eldest oyster winked his eye and shook his heavy head, meaning to say he chose to not leave the oyster bed.
But 4 young oysters hurried up, all eager for a treat. Their coats were brushed, their faces washed, their shoes were nice and neat. And this was odd because, you know, they hadn't any feet.
4 other oysters followed them, and yet another 4. And thick and fast they came at last, and more and more and more, all hopping through the frothy waves, all scrambling to the shore.
The walrus and the carpenter walked on a mile or so, and then they rested on a rock conveniently low, and all the little oysters came and waited in a row.
The time has come, the walrus said, to talk of many things, of shoes, of ships, of sealing wax, of cabbages and kings, and why the sea is boiling hot and weather picks have wings.
But wait a bit, the oysters cried, before we have our chat, for some of us are out of breath and all of us are fat. No hurry, said the carpenter, they thanked him much for that.
A loaf of bread, the walrus said, is what we chiefly need. Pepper and vinegar besides are very good indeed. Now if you're ready, oysters dear, we can begin to feed.
But not on us, the oysters cried, turning a little blue. After such kindness, that would be a dismal thing to do. The night is fine, the walrus said. Do you admire the view?
It was so nice of you to come, and you were very nice. The carpenter said nothing but cut us another slice. I wish you were not quite so deaf. I've had to ask you twice.
It seems a shame, the walrus said, to play them such a trick after we've brought them out so far and made them trot so quick. The carpenter said nothing, but the butter spread too thick.
I weep for you, the walrus said. I deeply sympathize. Through sobs and tears, picking out those of the largest size, holding his pocket handkerchief before his streaming eyes.
Oh, oysters, we've had a pleasant run. Shall we be trotting home again? But answer came there none. And this was scarcely odd, because they'd eaten every one.
Very good. Well, yes, very, very good. But I suppose I should like the walrus best, as he felt a little sorry for the poor oysters.
He ate more than the carpenter, though. He held his pocket handkerchief out in front, so he couldn't count how many he took, contrary-wise.
Well, that was mean. Then I like the carpenter best, if he hadn't eaten so many as the walrus.
But he ate as many as he could get.
Well, they were both rather unpleasant characters, I suppose, but really, I don't really know. They're both rather... Are there any lions or tigers about here?
Why, it's only the Red King snoring. Come and look at him.
Isn't he a lovely sight? He's fit to snore his head off.
Well, I'm afraid we'll catch cold with lying on the damp grass.
He's dreaming now. What do you think he's dreaming about?
Well, nobody can guess that.
Why? He's dreaming about you! And where do you suppose you'd be if he left off dreaming about you?
Well, where I am now, I suppose.
Why, you'd be nowhere. You're only a sort of thing in his dream.
If that there king was to wake, you'd go out. Bang! Just like a candle.
Well, I shouldn't. And besides, if I'm only a sort of thing in his dream, what are you, I'd like to know?
Ditto!
Ditto! Ditto!
No, hush, I'm afraid to wake him if you're so loud.
No use you're talking about waking him when you're only one of the things in his dream. You know very well, you're not real.
But I am real.
You won't make yourself a bit realer by crying. There's nothing to cry about.
Well, if I wasn't real, I shouldn't be able to cry.
I hope you don't suppose those are real tears.
Well, you two are talking nonsense, and it's foolish to cry about it anyways. I really should be getting on.
Do you see that?
Well, it's only a rattle. Quite old, and I believe it's broken as well.
I knew it was. It's spoiled, of course.
Well, you needn't be so angry about an old rattle.
It's not old. It's new, I tell you. I bought it yesterday. My nice new rattle!
But...
Of course. You agree to have a battle.
I suppose so.
Do I look very pale?
Well, yes, little.
I'm very brave generally. Only today I happen to have a headache.
And I've got a toothache. I thought worse off than you.
Well, then you'd better not fight today.
You must have a bit of a fight. I don't care about going on long, though. What's the time?
4:30.
We'll fight till 6, and then have dinner.
Very well, but she better not come very close. I hit anything I can see when I get really excited.
And I hit everything within reach, whether I can see it or not.
Bill, I wish that monstrous crow would come.
We better get started quickly. It's getting as dark as it can.
And darker.
What a thick black cloud that is. I do believe it's got wings.
It's the crow!
Well, it shouldn't get at me under here, as it's so large. But really, this dream business... I really think we're all part of the same dream, only I hope it's my dream and not the Red King's. I don't like belonging to someone else's dream. Well, what on earth is that? But it's somebody's shawl. Wait, I am glad I happened to be in the way. Am I addressing the White Queen?
Well, yes, if that's what you call addressing. It isn't my notion of the thing at all.
If your Majesty would only tell me the right way to begin, I'll do it best as I can.
But I don't want to done it all. I've been addressing myself for the last 2 hours.
Every single thing's crooked, and you're all over pins.
Do you want to fix my shawl for me?
Well, yes, of course.
Oh, I
suppose so.
don't know what's the matter with you. It's out of temper, I think. I pinned it here and then I pinned it there, but there's no policing it.
Well, you can't pin it all on one side, you know. It won't go straight. And what a state your hair is in.
Oh, the brush has gotten entangled in it. And I lost the comb yesterday.
My, what a trouble. Now, I should fix it for you, suppose. It looks
better?
Sure. But really, you should have a lady's maid.
Oh, I'm sure I'll take you with pleasure. 2 pence a week and jam every other day.
Well, I don't want you to hire me. And besides, I don't like jam.
Oh, it's very good jam.
Well, I don't want any today, at any rate.
So you couldn't have it if you did want it. The rule is jam tomorrow and jam yesterday, but never jam today.
Well, it must come to jam today.
No, it can't. It's jam every other day. Oh, today isn't any other day, you know.
Well, it's so dreadfully confusing. It doesn't make any sense.
That's the effect of living backwards. It makes one a little guilty at first.
Living backwards? I never heard of such a thing. How on earth? I don't believe it.
You can't? Try. Draw a long breath and shut your eyes.
Oh, there's no use. One can't possibly believe in impossible things.
Then I dare say you haven't had much practice yet. When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. That's the one great advantage in living backwards, that one's memories work both ways.
Well, I'm sure mine only works one way. I can't remember things before they happen.
Oh, it's a poor sort of memory that it only works backwards.
Well, what sort of things do you remember best?
Oh, things that happen the day after next. For instance, there's the king's messenger, and he's in prison to be punished, and the trial doesn't even begin until next Wednesday. And of course, the crime comes last of all.
Suppose he never commits the crime.
That would have been all the better, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, it would be all the better, but it wouldn't be all the better as being punished.
You're wrong there. At any rate, were you ever punished?
Well, only for fault.
And you are all the better for it. I know.
Well, except I had done the things I'd been accused of.
But if you hadn't done them, that would have been better still. Better and better and better and better and better and better.
Wait, there's a mistake somewhere, I believe. Have you pricked your finger?
Well, I haven't pricked it yet, but I soon shall.
Well, when do you expect to do it?
Well, when I fasten my shawl again, the brooch will come undone directly.
Well, but here you are, I suppose. But, well, you're holding it rather crooked now, see?
See? That accounts for the bleating. Now you understand the way things happen here.
But why don't you scream now?
Why, I've done all the screaming already. What would be the good in doing it all over again?
Well, then I hope your finger is better now.
Oh, much better. Better and better and better and better and better and better.
Well, some people, very odd, I suppose. No, really. It can't be anybody else. It's almost as if his name were written all over his face. Now, and how exactly like an egg he looks.
It is very provoking to be called an egg. Very.
Well, I only said you look like an egg, sir, and some eggs are very pretty, you know?
Don't stand there chatting to yourself like that. But tell me your name and your business.
Well, my name is Alice, but...
It's a stupid enough name. What does it mean?
Must a name mean something?
Of course it must. My name means the shape I am. A good handsome shape it is, too.
Well...
With a name like yours, you might be any shape. Almost.
Well, what a beautiful belt you've got on. At least I should have said a cravat. I meant a belt. I'm very sorry.
It is a most provoking thing when a person doesn't know a cravat from a belt.
I'm sure I'm very sorry.
It's a cravat, child, and a beautiful one, as they say. It's a present from the White King and Queen.
Oh, is it?
They gave it to me for an unbirthday present.
I beg your pardon?
I'm not offended.
No, I only meant I didn't understand.
A present given when it isn't your birthday, of course.
Well, I like birthday presents best, I should think.
You don't know what you're talking about. How many days are there in a year?
365, of course.
And how many birthdays have you?
Well, 1.
And if you take 1 from 365, what remains?
364, of course.
Then there are 364 days when you might receive unbirthday presents.
Well, that's rather strange, I suppose, but yes.
And only 1 for birthday presents, you know? Ugh, some people have no more sense than a baby.
Well, why do you sit here all alone?
Why, because there's nobody with me. Did you think I'd know the answer to that? Ask another.
Well, why do you sit on this wall? Don't you think you'd fall off and hurt yourself?
What tremendously easy bird is, you ask? Of course you don't think so. Why, if I ever did fall off, which no chance of, if I did, the king has promised me with his very own mouth
to send all his horses and all his men.
No, I declare that's too bad. You've been listening at doors, behind trees, and down chimneys. Or you could have known it.
No, I haven't. I've read it in a book.
Oh, well, there might rest the chinks in the book. Now take a good look at me. I'm the one that has spoken to a king, and he has promised me all his horses and all his men. They pick him again in a minute. They ain't wood. However, this conversation's going on a little too long. Let's go to the last mark but 1.
Well, I'm afraid I can't remember it.
In that case, we start fresh.
Well, Humpty Dumpty sat in a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a good fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty back together again. And that last line, it's much too long for the poetry.
I could read poetry as other folk, if it comes to that.
Is that all?
That's all. Goodbye.
Well, goodbye. This was rather sudden. Till we meet again.
I should know you again if we did meet.
Well, yes, but, you know, the face is what one goes by, not the name.
That's exactly my problem. You're so exactly like other people. 2 eyes, nose in the middle, mouth under. It's always the same. Now, if you had 2 eyes on the same side of your nose, for instance, or mouth on top, that would be some help.
It wouldn't look nice.
Wait till you've tried.
Well, goodbye. Of all the unsatisfactory people. That's strange. My, what on earth? Strange. Really strange is here.
Whoa.
My, he really did fall.
I've sent them all. Did you happen to meet any soldiers, my dear, as you came through the wood?
Well, yes, several thousand, I should think.
4,207. That's the exact number. I couldn't send all the horses because 2 of them are wanted in the game. I haven't sent the 2 messengers either. They're both gone to the town. Just look along the road and tell me if you can see either of them.
Well, I see nobody.
Oh, I only wish I had such eyes to be able to see nobody. And at that distance, too. Why, it's as much as I can do to see real people by this light.
Well, I do believe there's someone coming now, although he's rather slow and goes to strange attitudes.
No, not at all. That is an Anglo-Saxon messenger, and those are Anglo-Saxon attitudes. He does them when he's happy. His name is Hiya.
I love my love with an H because he is happy. I hate him with an H because he is hideous. I fed him with ham sandwiches and hay. His name is Hiya and he lives...
He lives on the hill. The other messenger is called Hatta. I must have 2, you know, to come and go. 1 to come and 1 to go.
I beg your pardon?
It isn't respectable to beg.
Well, I only meant I didn't understand.
Didn't I tell you? I must have 2, to fetch and carry. 1 to fetch and 1 to carry.
Well, what? My.
You alarm me. I feel faint. Bring me a ham sandwich. Your Majesty.
He actually has one.
Tell me, who did you see along the road?
Nobody.
Quite right. This young lady saw him too. So it only makes sense that nobody walks slower than you.
I do my best. I'm sure nobody walks much faster than I do.
He couldn't do that, or else he'd have been here first.
Well, there goes the White Queen. There must be some enemy after her or something.
No doubt. She runs so fearfully quick. You might as well try to catch a bandersnatch. But
yes.
I shall write a memorandum about her if you like. She was a dear, good creature. Do you spell creature with a double E? Never the matter. Now that you've gotten your breath, you may tell us what's happened in the town.
I'll whisper it.
They're at it again!
Do you call that a whisper? If you do such a thing again, I'll have you buttered.
Is it the best butter?
It went through and through my head like an earthquake.
Well, but who were at it again?
Why, the lion and the unicorn, of course.
Fighting for the crown.
Yes, and the best part of the joke is that it's my crown all the while. Come, let us run and find them.
Well, the lion and the unicorn were fighting for the crown. The lion and the unicorn were running all around town. Some gave them white bread, some gave them brown. Some gave them plum cake and drummed them out of town. Really?
Ahoy, ahoy, check. You're my prisoner. You're my prisoner.
Ahoy, ahoy, check.
She's my prisoner, you know?
Yes, but then I came and rescued her.
Well, we must fight for her then.
Indubitably.
Very loud they are. My.
You will observe the rules of battle, of course.
I always do.
Oh! Oh my. Okay. Whew. Whew. Ah! Ah! It was a glorious victory, wasn't it?
Well, I suppose so, but I don't want to be anybody's prisoner. I want to be queen.
So you shall, once we cross the next brook. I'll see you safe to the end of the wood, but then I must go back, you know. That's the end of my move. And this is my little box. You see, it's my own invention. I use it to keep clothes and sandwiches in. I hold it upside down so that the rain can't get in, you see?
Well, yes, but the things can get out. Do you know the lid's open?
I didn't know it. Then all the things must have fallen out, and the box is no use without them. Can you guess why I've done that?
No.
Well, in hopes some bees may make a nest in it. Then I should get the honey.
Bill, you've got a beehive or something like one fastened to your saddle.
Yes, it's a very good beehive, one of the best kind, but not a single bee has come near it yet. And the other thing is a mousetrap. I suppose the mice keep the bees out, or the bees keep the mice out. I'm not really sure which.
Well, I was wondering what the mousetrap was for. I didn't suppose there'd be any mice on the horse's back.
Yes, it's not very likely, perhaps. But if they do come, I don't choose to have them running all about. You see, it's just as well to be provided for everything. That's the reason the horse has all those anklets around its feet.
But what are they for?
To guard against the bites of sharks. It's an invention of my own. Now, help me on. I hope you've got your hair well fastened.
Only in the usual way.
That's hardly enough. The wind is so very strong here. It's as strong as soup.
Well, do you have an invention to keep from being blown off?
Not yet, but I've got a plan from keeping it from falling off.
Well, I'd like to hear it very much then.
All right, well, first you take an upright stick,
Yes,
and then you should make your hair creep up it, like a fruit tree.
suppose.
You see, the reason hair falls off is because it hangs down. Things never fall upwards, you know? You may try it if you like. It's an invention of my own.
Well, it looks rather sharp. It doesn't sound a comfortable plan.
Well, I'm a great hand at inventing things. Now, I dare say you noticed I was looking rather thoughtful.
Well, you were looking a little grave.
Well, just then I was inventing a new way of getting over a gate. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, very much.
Well, first I'll tell you how I came to think of the problem. You see, I thought to myself, the problem is with the feet. The head is high enough already, you see?
Yes.
So first I would put my head on the side of the gate, and then I would stand on my head, and then my feet are high enough, you see? And then I'm over, you see?
Yes, I suppose it should work, but it would be rather difficult.
Oh, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm afraid it would be rather tricky.
Yes, we should be moving along, though I
Yes.
do
We've only got a few yards to go, down that hill and over that little brook. But then you shall be a queen. But you'll stay and see me off, of course. You'll wait and wave your little handkerchief goodbye. I think it shall help me.
Yes, of course I will. Now, I don't think it'll take very long to see him off, I expect.
Oh no, there goes the beehive.
Well, would you like my assistance, or... No.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
It was nice meeting you.
Yes, indeed.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Adios.
Goodbye.
Sayonara.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Good day.
Buenos noches.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Yes. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yes.
It was nice knowing you.
Well, thank you.
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, goodbye.
Well, that's the wrong show. Well, anyways, I really ought to be getting along now. I only have one more brook to cross, and then the 8th square at last. Oh, how grand it sounds.
Look out, Five. Don't go splashing over me like that. It's not my fault. 7 drawn my own. That's right, Five. Or the blame on others. Better not talk. I heard Queen say only yesterday that you deserve to be beheaded or more. That's not your business, too. This is his business, and I'll tell him. It was for bringing the cook tulip roots instead of onions. Well, only just saying.
Please, would you tell me, why are you painting those roses?
Why, the fact is, you see, miss, these ought to be red rose trees.
And we put a white one in by mistake. And the queen was to find it out. We shall have our heads cut off.
So you see, miss, we're doing our best before it comes to...
The queen! The queen!
What is that?
Idiot! We only found it.
Is it alive?
Are you animal, vegetable, or mineral?
It's a child, my dear.
It can talk, Your Majesty.
Well then talk, child, talk!
What is your name, girl?
My name is Alice, and Your Majesty, we met earlier today in the garden.
Yes, quite right. And what are those?
Well, how should I know? It's no business of mine.
Off with her head.
Off with nonsense!
My dear, she's just a child.
Oh, turn them over. Get up, you all make me giddy. What have you been doing here?
May please, Majesty.
Oh! I see. Off with their heads!
My dear, we need them for the game.
Yes, quite right. Fine.
But if Your Majesty, please...
Speak when you're spoken to.
If everybody obeyed that rule, and only spoke when they were spoken to, and the other always waited for the other to begin, then nobody would say anything.
Ridiculous. Think before you speak, always speak the truth, and write it down afterwards.
Oh, she's in that state of mind that she wants to deny something, only she doesn't know what to deny.
I dare say you've not had many lessons in manners yet.
Well, manners aren't taught in lessons. Lessons are sums and things of that sort.
And you do addition? What's one and 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 one?
Well, I lost count.
Can you do addition? Can you do subtraction? Take 9 from 8.
Well, I can't, you know.
She can't do subtraction. Can she do division? Divide a loaf by a knife. What's the answer to that?
Well, I suppose...
Bread and butter, of course.
But it's so confusing. It's just like a riddle with no answer.
Humpty Dumpty saw it too. He came to the house with a corkscrew in his hand.
What did he want?
He said he was looking for a hippopotamus.
As it turns out, there wasn't such a thing in the house that morning.
Is there usually?
Well, on Thursday.
Well, everybody knows that. And you know your ABCs, don't you?
Yes, of course.
So do I. And I'll tell you a secret.
I can read words of one letter.
Isn't that grand?
Well, yes.
Can you answer any useful questions like, how is bread made?
Well, yes, I know that. First, take some flour.
Where do you get the flour? In the garden or in the hedges?
Well, no, it's ground,
How
actually.
many acres of ground you mustn't leave out so many things. Then her head, she'll be feverish after so much
Thinking? Oh.
Well, I wish queens wouldn't ask so many questions.
Don't let us quarrel now. Yes, let's not quarrel. Can you play croquet?
Yes.
Well, come on then. Play! It's a very fine day. Get to your places.
Indeed.
How are you getting on?
Not very well, I'm afraid. There don't seem to be any rules, and if there are, nobody abides to them. And the way all the creatures talk and argue, it's enough to drive one crazy.
And how do you like, the queen?
Well, not at all. She's so incredibly, likely to win. It's hardly worth finishing the game. Well,
who are you talking to?
Well, the Cheshire Cat. Allow me to introduce it.
Well, I don't like the look of it. However, it may kiss my hand if it likes.
I'd rather not.
Don't be impertinent and don't look at me like that.
Well, a cat may look at a king. I've read that somewhere in a book, although I don't remember where.
Well, it must be removed, my dear. I wish to have this cat removed.
Off with his head!
You can't cut off a head unless there's a body to cut it from. I've never had to do such a thing before in my life, and I'm not going to start now.
Anything that has a head can be beheaded. You ought to not talk nonsense.
If something isn't done about this in less than no time, I'll have everybody executed.
Well, no, you can't do that. It belongs to the Duchess. You better ask her first.
No!
Oh, it is so good to see you again, my dear. Oh, you're thinking about something and it makes you forget to talk. I can't tell you just now what the moral of that is, but I shall remember it in a bit.
Well, suppose it hasn't one.
Oh, tut, child. Everything has a moral if you can find one. Oh, 'tis love that makes the world go round.
I believe somebody once said it was by everybody minding their own business.
Oh, well, it means much the same. And the moral of that is take care of the sense and the sound to take care of themselves.
How fond you are of finding mores and things.
Yes, I am. But I am doubtful about the temper of this racket.
Well, it might bite.
Very true. Racket and mustard both bite. And the moral of that is birds of a feather flock together.
Well, except mustard and rackets, they aren't birds.
Oh, they aren't. What a clear way you have of putting of things.
Well, yes, but actually, mustard, it's a mineral, you know.
Of course it is. There's a mustard mine near here. And the moral of that is the more there is of mine, the less there is of yours.
Well, actually, no. Well, mustard, it's a vegetable. It doesn't look like one, but it is.
Oh, I quite agree with you. And the moral of that is be what you seem to be. Or, if you like to put it more simply, never imagine yourself not to be otherwise than what it might appear to others, that what you were might have been was not otherwise than what it might appear to them to be otherwise.
Well, so confusing. I wish I wouldn't have written it down.
Oh, well, that is nothing to what I could say if I chose.
Pray don't trouble yourself with saying things that are longer than need be.
Oh, but I've made a present of everything I have said as of yet.
Well,
oh, good day, Your Majesty.
Good day.
Well, where's the Duchess off to in such a hurry?
Hush, hush. She's in danger of being under sentence of execution.
What for?
Did you say what a pity?
No, I said what for?
She boxed the Queen's ears. What? Hush, hush, hush. The Queen will hear you. You see, she came in rather late today. Alice, have you seen the mock turtle yet?
I don't even know what a mock turtle is.
It's the thing mock turtle soup is made from.
Well, I've never seen a mock turtle. I don't know what it is.
Well, come, and he shall tell you his history. Oh, the griffin shall take you.
You are all pardoned.
Yes,
to hear his history. I must go and see after some executions I have ordered. Oh, your head really shaped. Off with it! The Jabberwocky Colby wants its face back. Oh, Humpty Dumpty. Oh, that's unfortunate. You look like an acquaintance of mine. Yes. Oh, how unfortunate. Oh.
Really?
Come on.
But everybody says, come on here. I've never been so ordered about in all of my life.
This here is the mock turtle.
What is his sorrow?
It's all his fancy back. He hasn't got no sorrow, you know. Come on. This here young lady wants for to know your history, she do.
I'll tell it to her. Sit down and don't speak a word till I finish. Once, I was a real turtle. When we were young, we went to school in the sea. Our master was an old turtle. We called him Tortoise.
Well, why did you call him Tortoise if he wasn't one?
We called him Tortoise because he taught us. Really, you are very dull.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself for asking such a simple question.
We went to school in the sea, though you may believe
I never said I didn't.
You did.
Hold your tongue.
We had the best of educations. In fact, we went to school every day.
Well, I went to a day school too, you know. You needn't be so proud of all that.
With extras?
Well, yes, French and music.
And washing?
Of course not.
Ah, then yours couldn't have been a really good school. Now at ours, at the end of the bill, they had French, music, and washing. Extra.
Well, you needn't have wanted it much living at the bottom of the ocean.
I couldn't afford to learn it. I only took the regular courses.
And what were those?
Reeling and writhing, of course. And then the various branches of arithmetic. Ambition, distraction, uglification, and derision.
Well, I never heard of uglification before. What is it?
What? No heard of uglifying? You know what a beautify is, I suppose.
Well, yes, it's to make everything prettier.
Well then, if you don't know what uglify is, you are a simpleton.
Well, what were the other classes?
Well, there was mystery, ancient and modern with geography, and then drawing. The drawing master was an old conger eel who came in once a week. He taught us drawing, stretching, and fainting in coils.
What was that like?
I'm just a shorty myself, and the griffin never learned it.
And time. I went to the classics master, though. He was an old crab, he was.
I never went to him. He taught laughing and grief, they used to say.
Well, how many hours a day did you do lessons?
10 hours the first day, 9 the next, and so on.
And the 11th must have been a holiday.
Of course.
That's the reason they're called lessons, because they lesson from day to day.
Well, but how did you manage on the 12th?
Well, that's...
That's enough about lessons. The trial's beginning. Come on.
Wait, trial? What trial? But the croquet game there.
Come on!
Good-looking man, wasn't it? I knew it! I knew it! Where are they? Wait for the queen! Wait for the queen! Wait for the queen.
Silence in the court!
What? They can't have anything to put down yet before the trial's begun.
For writing down the names for the ovation, forget them before the end of the trial.
Harold, read the accusation.
The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all on a summer day. Then the neighbor Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away.
Consider your verdict.
No, not yet. There's a great deal to come before that.
Call the first witness.
First witness!
I beg pardon, Your Majesty, for bringing this in, but, well, you see, I hadn't quite finished my tea when I was sent for.
You ought to have finished. When did you begin?
Oh, 14th of March, I think it was. 15th.
16th?
Bring that down. And you, take off your hat.
Oh, it isn't mine.
Stolen?
No. I keep them to sell. I've none of my own. I'm a hatter.
Give your evidence, and don't be nervous, or I'll have you executed on the spot.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty, and I'd barely begun my tea. Well, not above a week or so. And what with the bread and butter getting so thin, and and the twinkling of the tea, and
The twinkling of what?
Well, it began with the tea.
Well, of course twinkling begins with the T. Do you take me for a dunce? Go on.
I'm a poor man, your majesty, and most things twinkled after that. Well, only the mater said...
I didn't, you did! I didn't! He denies it! Write it down.
Well, at any rate, the dormouse said...
Twinkle?
Oh, the dormouse was sleeping. Well, after that, I cut some more bread and butter, and then, well...
What did the dormouse say?
Well, madam, that I can't remember.
Imperial fiddlesticks! You must remember, or I'll have you executed.
I'm a poor man, your majesty.
If that's all you know, then you may stand down. Then you may sit down.
I'm on the floor as it is. I can't go no lower.
In your chair.
No.
Oh, call the next witness. Give your evidence.
Your Majesty must cross-examine this witness.
Well, if I must, I must. What are the tarts made of?
Pepper mostly.
Chica.
Call that dormouse! Off with his whisker!
My dear, we must cross-examine the next witness. Oh, really, my dear, we must call the next witness. Oh, this makes my forehead ache.
Alice! You here?
What do you know about this business?
Nothing.
Nothing whatever?
Nothing whatever.
Why, that's very important.
Unimportant, Your Majesty means of course.
Unimportant, I meant. Important. Unimportant. Important. Unimportant. Important. Ah, silence! Consider your verdict.
No, not yet. This paper has just been picked up. What's in it? I don't know. I haven't opened it yet, but it appears to be a letter written by the prisoner to... somebody.
Well, it must have been that, unless it was written to nobody. Which isn't usual.
Nobody? I know nobody. I know nobody. I do.
But what is inside the letter?
Interesting. It isn't a letter after all. It's a set of verses.
And are they written in the prisoner's hand?
No, they're not. And that's the strangest thing about it.
He must have imitated somebody else's hand.
Please, Your Majesty, I didn't write them, and they can't prove that I did. There's no name signed at the end.
Well, if you didn't sign it, that only makes matters worse, as you must have meant some mischief. Or else you've signed it like an honest man.
That proves his guilt!
It proves nothing of the sort. Well, you don't even know what they're about.
Read them.
Where shall I begin, Your Majesty?
Start at the beginning and go to the end. Then stop.
Very well. They told me you had been to her. She gave me a good character and mentioned me to him, but said I could not swim. He sent them word I had not gone. If she should push the matter on, we know it to be true. What would become of you? I gave her one, they gave him two. They all returned from him to you. Then you gave us 3 or more, even though they were mine before. If I or she should chance to be, he trusts for you to set them free, involved in this affair, exactly as we were. My notion was that you had been an obstacle that came between, before she had this fit, him, ourselves, and it. Don't let her know she liked them best, a secret kept from all the rest, for this must ever be between yourself and me.
Why, that's the most important piece of evidence we've heard yet. Oh, now let the jury...
If any one of them can explain it, I'll give him 6 I don't think there's an atom of meaning in it.
Well, if there's no meaning in it, that saves a world of trouble, as we needn't try to find any. But yet, I don't know. I seem to see some meaning. Said I could not swim. You can't swim, can you?
Do I look like I can swim?
All right, so we know it to be true. Why, that's the jury, of course, and I gave her 1, they gave him 2. Why, that must be what you did with the darts.
Well, but then it goes on, they all came back from him to you.
Why, there they are. Nothing can be clearer than that. But then again, before she had this fit... Oh, but you've never had any fits, my dear, right?
Never!
Then the words don't fit you. It's a pun.
Oh, that's
enough. Silence! Consider your verdict.
No, sentence first, verdict afterwards.
Stuff and nonsense. The idea of having the sentence first.
Hold your tongue.
I won't.
Off with her head. Off with her head. Off with her head.
But who cares for you? You're nothing but a pack of cards anyway. Dinah, there you are. Now, I wonder, do you think you could please help me figure this out? Now, really, I do believe now we all were a part of the same dream. Although I think it may be my dream, or could be the Red King's, but then the Red King would be a part of my dream, or I would be a part of his. Really, it's also very confusing. Could you please help me to understand it? Now, what do you think my friends in Wonderland would say?
In Wonderland they lie, dreaming as the days go by,
dreaming as the summers die,
ever drifting down the stream, lingering in golden gleam.
Life. What is it but a dream?